Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another round of the recap. My name is Stephen Kernick, and joining me, like always, is Janneman Pruis. Janneman, it's been a hectic week. It's been a crazy one, full of some very, very interesting racing in the world of Raceface.
Good evening, Stephen. Yes, good to be back. As you said, interesting week of racing we had behind us, and I see you're still giving the thumbs up, the little guy there in the middle between all the big fellows.
Got to. But I was also giving a thumbs up to the Grid Championship. And that being said, let's head over to the Grid Championship, brought to you by Metal State, Raceface, and powered by MTN. And it was an interesting one. Morgan McCall finally breaking the streak and getting third place. And gotta say, good to see him back on the top spots where he was so used to being.
Absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, this was the first race this season that Morgan could actually finish. We had no technical difficulties. We know there's been load shedding, steering wheels, pedals. He had everything thrown at him, but managed to finish and grab that third place.
Yep, but ultimately it took the race down to the wire, as second place was Daniel Demetrios Petro, who had a fantastic drive out there. Daniel doing a great job of keeping everyone in a tight little battle, right with Morgan McCall down to the wire, both of them sharing paint once, twice, three times more, but ultimately taking that second place by only 1 second difference. But first place goes to our leading man, Tariq Adam. Tariq going and having a monstrous run, adding more points to his championship on his way to the crown of the Grid Championship Series Season 4.
Will anybody be able to catch him before the end of the season, close that gap down to the front? We've seen some tremendous driving from Tariq, and looking forward to what he'll be able to dish up coming this week.
And coming this week, round 5, we head to Messina on the 7th of September. Going to be a bit of fun out to Italy, and the track that originally was built for bikes, then now having a couple of GT3 cars. This will be the second time in Raceface history that we will be racing around it. But that being said, there's a series right before that's happening on the Wednesday, and that is our Raceface GT3 Sprint Series. And that was a pretty interesting one as well, because, well, we've got our Pro-Am, and a big shout out to our Pro-Am guys sending us the replays. Gotta love it. And I know Gabriel is one of the chaps that's been sending the replays on. Third place going to Ferrell, who's having a great drive out there, getting better, quicker, faster, getting more to grips with the car, becoming a pro every time he steps into it. And gotta say, 2 third places in a row, not bad.
Absolutely. I mean, these are the drivers to watch out for, Stephen. The gap between Pro-Am and Pro is so very little that these are the guys that might be in the Pro division come next season. Remember, top 3 of the Pro-Am division, they automatically go up to the Pro division next season. So it's all to fight for in the Pro-Am division.
And second place going to Jean-Ray Bertha of Team Kernick Racing, getting at second place. A Porsche on an absolute charge, and exactly what he needed for the week, and his whole team to take it, because they went and raced it down to the wire of the endurance race and actually scored first place for the endurance. So the top of the podium earlier in the week does make a bit of a difference, and puts a bit of pep into your stride, especially in that Porsche.
Yeah, taking that momentum through to the endurance series the past weekend, definitely something that they did. But let's have a look who finished out in first place.
And that is Mr. Kutzer. Kutzer going and getting a phenomenal drive. The McLaren really on a monstrous charge all the way to the top for our Pro-Am. And congratulations to him. I know he's been working frantically hard, and that McLaren has been a little less than helpful in some places, if not all. But it seems like Nürburgring, he was all able to go for it. The endurance race, though, didn't quite go to plan for Team Tryhard Daredevils. Hoping to get a little bit better. But that being said, we talked about our Pro-Am, so let's take a look at our Pro. And third place going to Kevin Duplessis. And gotta say, what a phenomenal drive on his part, really taking the fight out to the front. really taking a gamble in terms of his pit stop. Ultimately didn't work out to what he wanted it to be, but he was one of the first cars to get the pit stops done and dusted in the first part of the race compared to the rest of the field. Second place, that went to Ronaldo Boersma, who really had to push the BMW. We saw this BMW going sideways through a lot of the corners, the rear tires just eventually giving up, and he had to go and fight the car right down to the wire. But Ronaldo really going and pulling something out of his hat to go and climb that ladder.
Not every day we see, or these days, not every day we see a front engine car on the podium. So very well done to Ronaldo, and bringing that BMW home in second place. Also one of the drivers we had a nice little chat to at the Festival of Motoring.
And first place going to Bashir Jadwat. Finally, he's been playing a little bit
of yo-yo. The Porsche worked.
The Porsche finally worked, ever so close, just touching that top spot every single time, just the touch of the fingertips. Bashir Jadwat managing to lock it down in first place into the GT3 Sprint Series for our Pro division, and what a phenomenal run for doing it. And finally, is this where the luck is going to turn? Is it this the moment that it's going to get better for him? Well, only time will tell this week as we head out to Messina for round 6 of the GT3 Sprint Series on September 6th. We're looking forward to having a bit of fun out there. Will the Porsche be able to claw its way to the victory? Will we see some new names at the top? Well, at this point, it's anyone's game. Also coming up, we've had the GT3 Sprint Series round 3 done and dusted. We heard that on the 8th of October. We will be heading out to Kailami, and the Genesis team once again with Tariq Adam and with Luke Addison taking that top spot at the end of the 6 hour of Silverstone. They did a phenomenal job to get that top spot, but results aren't confirmed just as yet, so we can't give you the who's where at the moment for that.
I heard you did a 6 hour solo.
Yeah, in the McLaren.
No, I was talking about the endurance series this past weekend. I left you all alone.
But ultimately, let's see what goes. And also, massive congratulations to Cody Sherritt from Raceface for going and getting the silver championship in the Mobile Eye SRO GT3 World Championship America. So well done to Cody Sherritt for that. Phenomenal stuff for wearing the colors and scoring that victory, and seeing his teammates score a victory in the endurance race as well. That being said, let's take a look over TCRs, because that was quite an interesting little series. So, third place going to Yuri Swart, and what a run it was for him. Absolutely having to push the limits of what he can do in Heat 1, and really had to battle his way through. Ultimately, though, just not able to get the run on the rest of the field, but gave it his absolute all till the wire. And is this the starting to slip down the order, or do you think it's playing a little bit of cat and mouse?
I don't know. It's difficult to say. I mean, we know Yuri is a tremendous driver, always giving his all, Steven. So I think there's just a question of as we move along in the championship, there are drivers that are figuring their cars out a little bit more than other drivers. Remember, this is an open setup championship. So in second place, we had Julian Familiares bringing the Honda home in second place, and the Honda sometimes can be a little bit of a tricky car to drive. I do prefer the longer wheelbases.
Yeah, I've got to say I enjoy the Veloster, but he went and being one of the top Hondas in the championship. Keep an eye on Julian Familiares because he's really putting up the fight. But out front, wearing colours that you don't expect to see out front, is Troy Dolenchik with the Haas colours, going and having a bit of fun, scoring first place for Heat 1. And are going to be smiling on his face with that one. Had to work a bit hard. Tires started wearing out towards the end, and coming into back markers, he really had to figure out what he could do to get around them without losing too much time. That being said, though, I think he's got his work cut out for him at the moment, because let's take a look at third place for Heat 2. and that was Mr. Kutsi, who had a phenomenal run out there, being really stiff competition to everyone and having a lot of fun. Ultimately, the car getting a little bit snappy towards the early parts of the race, and he has to try and figure out how to control it, grip wearing out eventually. And after having a chat to him, he said that there's some tweaks to the car. It's there, but not quite there yet.
That's the thing, Stephen, of open setup racing, you can develop a car over the course of a season to get it to suit your driving style and so forth. And open setups, we've had the discussion before. You can still pick one of the fixed setups on iRacing and go racing with it if that suits your driving style.
Oh, that's it. And Troy Dolenchik coming in second place after a eventful first place. Second place is what he could manage in Heat 2. Ultimately, tires getting a little bit too hot, grip starting to drop away, and he had to just try and figure it out. Also, his competition doing slight tweaks to the car between race 1 and race 2 that they're able to just figure out how to get that extra 1 kilometer more. Ultimately, first place though, going to Yuri Umpi Swart, managing to climb the ladder. He didn't have too much of a fun time in Heat 1, but Heat 2 came into his stride and started opening up the distance a little bit away from the field. Will we see this pink car be able to take the championship? Will we see him be able to carry it all the way through and crown a new champion? Well, only time can tell on that one, as we will be heading to our final race of the series at Okayama on the 12th of September, round 4 for season 2 of the Raceface TCR Championship.
Yeah, I think Okayama is going to be a track that, it's going to be really tight and twisty for these touring cars to get around with. Remember, it is a front-wheel drive car, so there's normally a lot of understeer involved, but the drivers do tend to use brake bias to try and combat that understeer. But that last sector, Stephen, around Okayama, tight, twisty, I think we're going to have some interesting racing on our hands.
Who can climb on the anchors first? Who can get on the power? Well, we're going to see on the 12th of September. That being said, coming up this week is the iRacing F4 at Alton Park. The guys are going to be having a bit of fun. 5th of September. Do join in for the 2-heat race, 2 20-minute heats of these F4s. Fixed setup versus the open setup. So it's all fixed setup racing in these F4s, and we've seen some incredible competition, including having our UK contingent coming over to join in the racing. First in the F4s, then moving over to TCRs. But we're starting to see more and more people get competitive with these cars as they get to grips with open wheel racing.
Yeah, Stephen, as you said, totally different car to drive than a touring car. It takes a bit more, can't say finesse, but it definitely takes a different driving style to get this car to go quick around a track. But must say, and it's an awesome, fun car to drive.
Yep. And this is coming from a person that was solely GTs at one point. I have converted thee. That's great.
Okay, may I just remind you that we are currently busy developing a GT car for a series?
Shh. Nobody needs to know. Single seaters are best. Stop trying to do that. That being said, though, let's go and talk about a series that is a phoenix from the ashes, and we got to see racing this weekend. They're going to be racing also on the 5th of September, but let's look back at their last week's race. Our Raceface F1 2023, and once again, I'm always surprised when I get to see these races. The guys have a lot of fun out there. They really push the boundaries of what they can do. Third place going to Pazuluman, going and leading out. New name to the grid in terms of out onto the podium, but also having to really battle it out, getting very, very close to the competition. So well done to Pazuluman, and welcome to the podium position, something that has been very interesting. Every single race, new people lying on the podium. Second place ultimately though, going to one that we've seen before, Lematrix, going and battling it out. Got very close to first place, but just some slight miscalculations on the setup unfortunately cost him a bit of time, and he has to really start dialing the car in to get it all back in check. I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll be able to do. How far can they push the boundaries? What's going to be next? Well, we're going to see that coming up. And first place going to Brandon Kruger, aka Azure, who was able to just power his way through and just get across the line in first place. As we mentioned previously, second place, just having that little bit of miscalculations on downforce. Brandon Kruger was able to keep the climb going. Also, Winton just got in due to load shedding, so he nearly missed that race, which ultimately would have hurt his points.
Yeah, good timing from him.
And coming up on the 5th of September, we go out to the Temple of Speed for our Raceface F1 2023 Round 7 at Monza. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a challenging one. The drivers are going to really have to work it out. And considering what the drivers were doing on the F1 this past weekend, namely Ferrari nearly pulling a previous Mercedes or Red Bull, it's going to be a bit of an interesting one to see what they're going to do. How are the teams going to react? Who's going to be able to get into the slipstream, utilize DRS, and who's going to be able to battery manage the whole way through to ensure that they can put up the fight when it comes into the corners, or if they're stuck in the middle of these incredibly long straights.
As you said, Stephen, Monza is one of the iconic circuits to race around in any type of vehicle, but in a Formula One car, it is something special. I mean, it's just amazing how late you can brake in these cars and how quickly they get up to speed again. So this is very much a race to look forward to for the drivers and everybody involved.
It's going to be a great one. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us for this round of the recap. We get lovely to have you guys, and it's honestly always a joy to be bringing you all the information coming through, and we will be seeing you tomorrow with some of the racing happening, namely our F1 and our F4's racing tomorrow evening. So do tune in, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon to get notified of all videos coming out from Raceface. Give us a likes up if you're enjoying this, give us a likes down if you're not, and always drop a comment. We always love to get a bit of feedback of how to improve things, what to do, and get an understanding of what's happening out there in the world of Raceface. Also, just if you haven't got anything to say, leave a little emoji. Helps the algorithm. It's always handy. You know, YouTube being finicky at the best of times. On our road to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be there soon. Hopefully before Christmas. But from myself, Stephen Kernick, and my I can say co-driver, I can say partner in crime, I could say co-commentator, but ultimately, the world's slowest alien, Janneman Pruis.
Yeah, absolutely awesome week lying ahead, Stephen. Really looking forward to it, and let's see who can be on the podium come next week with the recap.
Like always, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'll see you next time. And like it's always been, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.